We can talk about William and Qatar. We can talk about Harry's book. Most of you, in fact, all of you want to talk about immigration. Can I just nail this before we speak to a criminal defence lawyer, somebody who defends migrants? There is a difference between economic migrants, okay, illegal migrants, and migrants disappearing from war-torn countries. The big news story this week has been Albanian men aged between 20 and 42% of that country's men are in the United Kingdom, 10,000 of them. Criminal gangs infiltrating our society, committing crime and disappearing without trace. That is fundamentally wrong. Also reports that conditions in the Home Office facility in Kent are wretched. Robert Jenrick, the new immigration minister, told the Commons yesterday that the large numbers crossing the Channel were putting the facility under pressure. I'm sure they are. Robert Jenrick will do something about changing the rules so they can't get in. This comes as a Home Affairs Select Committee was told this week that 38,000 migrants, just hold on a second, let's just get that right, 38,000 have so far crossed the Channel this year, including that spike in Albanian men. Joining me now is criminal defence lawyer Anmar Anwar. Anmar, good morning, how are you?
Morning, Jeremy. Good, thank you.
This is the topic, without any shadow of a doubt, that our viewers, our listeners and the wider public want to talk about. And I find it very interesting because 5 years ago it was the elephant in the room, wasn't it? People didn't talk about immigration. You've seen the reports this week about Albanian men. You've heard the outrage from people. What's your take on this situation?
I think at this point in time, it depends who you're talking to. Most people are worried about being able to pay their bills and being able to keep the roof over the head. And when it comes to the question of criminal gangs, you know, at the end of the day, if there are those who are involved in criminality trying to come to this country, then there are procedures to be able to try and remove them. But the fact is that the Home Office repeatedly fails time and time again. We have a bureaucratic asylum system. We have a derelict accommodation system. We have those who travel a very long and deadly journey, often escaping horrors to get to safety. And the attacks by this Tory government, you know, when it comes to war, poverty and persecution, they're not able to explain why thousands of people are fleeing to Britain.
But straight away, Emma, there is no differentiation in what you've said, with the greatest of respect. You've talked about people fleeing war-torn countries. Explain to me, you as a criminal defence lawyer, do you defend these migrants? Is that part of your brief?
Sorry, it's a very vast generalisation to say I'm a criminal defence lawyer, so I defend all sorts of people, you know, and people have a right, first of all, have a right to presumption of innocence in this country until proven guilty. So the idea that as a criminal defence lawyer, that's all I do is simply not true. We have a justice system, you have a prosecution and you have a defence. But
we have a justice system that pays you to defend people who come to this country who presume that they have rights when people in this country cannot afford to do basic things. Do you understand that frustration?
What would you want to do, Jeremy? I mean, somebody comes to this country and the fact is that the vast majority of people, despite what the Home Office say, that once their immigration application or asylum application is put into the system, is that a vast majority of them actually end up getting granted. We, you know, ministers regularly demonise vulnerable migrants. They provide them with a convenient scapegoat.
I am not sticking up, Anwar. I am not sticking up for the Home Office, which I think is a shambles. I'm not sticking up for ministers. But you've said it again. I am trying to put the side of the people watching and listening. I absolutely nail the fact that there are a lot of migrants who come to this country from countries where they're really suffering, and we are very warm and we are very welcoming. But when I hear demonising migrants, I want to ask you about Albanians. Do you think what?
I disagree with your analysis that we are very warm and welcoming. There is a difference in treatment. If you talk about 4 or 5 years ago, there was something like 1.4 million Syrians who were desperately trying to flee a war-torn, persecution, rape, bombings, etc. And in this country and across Europe, we were told that there was a migrant crisis. Of course, you know, just several months ago or over a year ago, when the Ukrainian situation started to arise, all of a sudden there wasn't a migrant crisis. We were told to open up our doors and to help these people. We saw the hypocrisy of this government when it came to the situation of the Afghan refugees. But you're not talking about what I want to talk about, which is the Albanians. You're talking about why is it that nobody will talk about illegal immigration? We get this muddled confusion. I've said listen, there are migrants who can come to this country. What I want to ask you is, very basically, the Albanian situation. I'm sorry. They have no legal routes. So, I mean, I'm not going to confuse the situation because the reality, Jeremy, which you're failing to see is there is actually no legal route into this country at this point in time. The Tories have criminalised.
What do you think about Albanian men coming into this country, disappearing to our society and committing crime? What would you do about those people? 10,000.
Jeremy, if individuals are involved in criminality in this country, then of course they must face the full weight of the law.
The point I'm trying to make is the Albanian men, this is a fact, are coming to our shores. And he's right. Obviously, the system is not great. In fact, it's not good at all. The system that allows this to happen needs changing. But all I hear is it's the government, it's border force, it's the system. Yes, he's a criminal defence lawyer who didn't like me saying he's being paid to defend people when there are people in this country suffering who cannot afford jack. Let's have a look at this. Criminal defence lawyers, Jeremy, they're part of the problem. Ripping the backside out of the legal aid budget, defending undesirables. That shouldn't be anywhere near UK soil. Can we try and get him back? Are we having any luck? Oh, we're trying now. OK, let's read more. John in Lincolnshire. What would we have done with people who turned up on our beaches between 1939 and 1945? Just shout to me when he's back. If it's so rubbish in Albania, why are they complaining about conditions here? That's very interesting comment, Anonymous. The migrant crisis, Jez, is very, very simple. But no politician will do it. Just repeal the UCHR Act and this will allow this country to act. The migrant crisis is getting worse. Why can't we do something about it? Come on, Peter. Says Maddie, please do not be so magnanimous to the Albanians. Just because you want does not mean you take. We cannot be overtaken by nationals of other countries because we are attractive when we are all suffering. Anwar, are you back? Are you there?
It's either Amar or it's Mr. Anwar, Jeremy. I don't call you Lyle, so...
Sorry, I've got Anwar, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right, answer me this. Criminal defence lawyers, Jeremy, they're part of the problem, ripping the backside out of the legal aid budget, defending undesirables.
Absolute.
We shouldn't be anywhere near UK. I'm simply saying those are people's opinions. How would you answer that?
I mean, Jeremy, absolute, utter nonsense that is propagated repeatedly. The criminal defence lawyers are the problem. And what would you have? Would you have a Taliban-style system where you have one person who is judge, jury and prosecution, or do you want to defend a system of justice that we have said for hundreds of years is the best legal system in the world?
Do you think the criminal justice system in this country needs changing or not?
I believe that it needs funded because you have the most vulnerable people in this country at this point in time that don't actually get access to justice, where it's become almost a case of it's one law for the rich and one law for the poor.
If we take that point, then just 1 second, with respect, you're far more intelligent. But if we take that point, forget me a minute. Let's talk about the thousands of people that you've just dismissed with one comment. You've just said we should have a justice system where people get help, right? You talk from a migrant point of view. What about the thousands of people listening and watching this right now who are struggling and are hacked off to the back teeth?
Absolutely. And why not?
And they're saying to us,
why not concentrate on those billionaires who failed to pay their tax? Why not concentrate on those individuals who bypassed the legal system because of the state of their bank account, because of their connections? You know, instead of scapegoating, a number of people who come to this country, and I said before I was cut off earlier on, was the fact that if people engage in criminality in this country, the idea that you're trying to say that as a criminal defence lawyer, that I would say that somebody who engages in criminality shouldn't face the
I didn't say that at all.
Absolutely.
I didn't say that at all. I've been trying to get you to focus the difference between economic migrants and illegal migrants. Do you believe that Albanian criminal men deserve you supporting them in court? Yes or no?
Germany, I have said to you that we have a system of justice in this country. What solution are you offering? You have a defence, you have a prosecution, and you have a judge. The judge will make up their mind. What exactly do you propose? If people come into this country and they engage in criminality, then they must, of course, face the full weight of the law. I have said nothing different. You keep trying to get me to say something else. That's not the fact. It's not the truth. And you would find most criminal...
I'm not trying to get you to say anything. I'm putting stuff from our viewers. Listen to this. Ken Little says,
some of those viewers have some mad ideas.
Well, I think that's very disrespectful to say that people are not entitled to their opinion.
I think it's very disrespectful to the defence system. I think it's very disrespectful to the legal system that has stood the test of time.
Has it really? How about this, he says. How about you, sir, defend UK residents who cannot get legal aid for defence because the money's being spent on people who've never paid into the system?
No.
That's not me. Answer the question.
We have a system of justice in this country, Jeremy, that the Tory party for the last 12 years or so has decimated, that failed to fund it appropriately. We had barristers who had to go on strike. We have a system whereby this government has spent billions wasted on PPE, on test and trace. And if they'd actually funded the organisations, then you wouldn't have this problem. So stop looking for scapegoats to blame. It's not these Albanian men. It's not migrants that are responsible for the decimation of the legal aid system. It's this government that's responsible.
I take that point. I haven't said anything other than the fact that the Home Office is a debacle, the border force situation is ridiculous, and the systems undoubtedly need to change. What I'm trying to ask you to answer, and you don't because you throw at me billionaires, you say that all of these people are not entitled to opinion. This man says, why are we providing a legal system, ask the gentleman this, he says, for people who shouldn't be in this country in the first place, who are known criminals? That's the point, isn't it? That is the point. People's frustration is understandable.
Do you believe in due process, Jeremy? Do you believe in due process?
To a degree.
To a degree. So where exactly would you decide to draw the line? As I keep saying to you, we have due process in this country. We have a legal system. And what you have is you have a defense and you have a prosecution and we have a police system and they're all independent from each other. And then you have a judge. And the process is this in this country, thankfully. It's not the process of Afghanistan. It's not the process of Iran or Saudi Arabia. When an individual is accused of a crime, they have a presumption of innocence. They are then brought to a courtroom and then they are prosecuted and they are entitled to a defense, not just a case at the full force of the way, because if you start to take away that line, then it will be applied to other people in this country. And that is fundamentally what is wrong with the idea that you're propagating, or your viewers are propagating, the idea that an individual should not receive the defense. And the idea to try and make out and scapegoat these individuals as though they somehow...
Scapegoat criminal individuals. I'm talking about the people of this country who can't get the help, and you keep throwing back at me. Listen, we'll agree to disagree. The people who are listening and watching are saying quite simply, illegal immigrants are getting more help than people in this country. You talk to me about the legal system. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Amma. And I really, Anwar, I really appreciate you being on. But the frustration of people this morning is very plain to see. There are criminals and illegal immigrants coming to this country getting help from a system that is struggling. And there are people in this country who are not getting that help. Talk TV Breakfast.